The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as Ambassador Krextar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. The insectoid diplomat's compound eyes glittered as he spread his forearms wide, addressing the assembled representatives of 47 species. The human colony of New Terra has been pacified, Krextar announced, his translator rendering the alien words with cold precision. Another world cleansed of their infectious ambition. Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly. The Zephyrians' crystalline forms chimed in harmony, while the gaseous nebulans pulsed with satisfied colors. For 3 cycles, the Coalition of Order had systematically eliminated human settlements across the Outer Rim, each victory another step toward containing what they called the human plague. This makes 17 worlds, added Councillor Vexthul, her serpentine form coiling with pleasure. Perhaps now the remaining human territories will understand their place in our ordered galaxy. But then the chamber doors hissed open. A single figure walked in, human, male, unremarkable in every way that mattered to most species present. He wore a simple black uniform with no insignia, no weapons visible. His brown hair was neat, his posture relaxed. Most unsettling of all, he was smiling. Not the predatory grin they'd learned to fear from human warriors, nor the manic expression of their berserkers. This was something far more terrifying. A calm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Excuse me," the human said politely, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I believe you were discussing my people." Security forces moved to intercept him, but he raised one hand. Not in threat, but in a gesture so casual it gave them pause. "My name is David Chen," he continued, still walking toward the central dais. "I represent the Terran Colonial Administration. I've come to discuss terms." Krextar's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Terms? Human, your species has no position from which to negotiate. We have demonstrated our superiority across 17 worlds. Your colonies burn, your people flee, and your governments cower behind their depleted fleets." David nodded thoughtfully, as if considering this assessment. "You know, you're absolutely right about those 17 worlds. Impressive work, really. The efficiency was remarkable. Orbital bombardment, atmospheric poisoning, quantum disruption fields. Very thorough." The chamber buzzed with confusion. This wasn't how cornered humans usually behaved. Where was the rage? The desperate threats? The final defiant stands they'd grown accustomed to? However, David continued, his smile never wavering, I think there might be a small misunderstanding about what those worlds represented. He reached into his jacket, security tensed, and withdrew a small holographic projector. With the same casual gesture, he activated it, filling the chamber with a 3-dimensional star map. "You see those 17 worlds? They weren't our colonies." The map zoomed in, highlighting the destroyed systems in red. They were our prisons. The silence that followed was absolute. For the past century, humanity has struggled with a particular problem, David explained, circling the dais as he spoke. What do you do with individuals too dangerous for normal society, but too valuable to simply execute? Criminals with genius-level intellects, psychopaths with useful skills, sociopaths with strategic minds. The hologram shifted, showing detailed schematics of the colonies. We built 17 maximum security prison worlds. Each one housed roughly 50,000 of our most dangerous individuals, war criminals, genocidal maniacs, the kinds of humans that even we couldn't stomach. We told the galaxy they were colonies, of course. Better for everyone to think we were expanding rather than disposing. Councillor Vexthul's serpentine form had gone rigid. "You're lying, am I?" David's smile broadened slightly. "Tell me, in all your surveillance of these colonies, did you ever observe normal human behaviors? Families, children, cultural celebrations? Or did you see only military installations, research facilities, and what you assumed were training grounds?" The assembled representatives began checking their records, their earlier satisfaction curdling into something approaching horror. "Each world held the worst of humanity," David continued. "The ones we couldn't execute because of those pesky human rights laws, but couldn't allow to remain in our society. They were sentenced to permanent exile, left to build their own twisted civilizations far from decent people." He paused at the center of the chamber, hands clasped behind his back. "And you killed them all. Every last one." His smile was radiant now. "On behalf of the Terran Colonial Administration, I want to personally thank you for solving our most pressing humanitarian crisis. Ambassador Krextar's compound eyes were darting frantically between displays. The resistance? The fighting? Oh yes, they fought magnificently, didn't they? Exactly as we'd hoped they would when we first designed those prison worlds. We knew that someday someone might try to eliminate them, so we made sure they'd make any aggressor pay dearly for the privilege. David chuckled softly. I trust your casualties were educational? The hologram shifted again, now showing Earth and the inner human territories. Systems that burned bright with industrial activity, military installations, and billions upon billions of life signs. The real human colonies are actual worlds. Our families and children and artists and philosophers, they're all still here. Safe behind our defensive lines, which you've kindly never approached because you were so busy dealing with our refuse. David turned to face the assembly directly, and for the first time they saw something other than pleasant calm in his expression. His eyes held depths of cold calculation that made several species involuntarily retreat. Now then, he said, his voice still perfectly polite. Shall we discuss what happens next? Because the truly law-abiding, civilized humans, the ones who build hospitals and write poetry and raise children, they're rather upset about your unprovoked attacks on what you believed were innocent colonies. The silence stretched until Ambassador Krextar finally found his voice. What do you want? David's smile returned, bright and terrible. Reparations would be nice. A formal apology to the families of the few guards and administrators you killed along with the prisoners. Perhaps some assurance that this sort of misunderstanding won't happen again. He began walking toward the exit, then paused at the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. Consider this your formal notification that humanity is officially establishing a new maximum security facility. We've realized that sometimes the galaxy produces the same kind of individuals that require special handling. The doors began to close behind him, but his final words carried clearly through the chamber. We'll be in touch about the prisoner transfers. The doors sealed with a soft hiss, leaving 47 species alone with the horrifying realization that they had just solved humanity's waste disposal problem while simultaneously demonstrating exactly why they qualified for the next shipment.